Here and welcome back to Board Game Breakfast. All right, well, this is a very late board game breakfast, and that's just due to a lot of things, the technical difficulties, but mostly to the fact that we were at Dice Tower Con last week. In fact, you can see holes all through my shelf right now because many of my favorite games I took with me and put in the library at Dice Tower Con, so they're not here, but they will come back. Okay, so that's going to mess with this week a little bit. There's going to be no live Q&A today. I apologize. We still have some internet issues that we need to work out at the place we're at right now. But hopefully we'll get those resolved this week and everything. But we should be fully operational next week. And you'll still see some videos. We still have our Origins videos that will be going up this week. We have a few of those going up each day, if you've noticed. And some other stuff. I'll talk more about that in Dice Tower Productions. But other than that, we're back. We're ready to go. Let's start with the news. Okay, so not a ton of news this week, but some pretty big news. We'll start with some smaller news. First of all, City of Gears has been announced that Gray Fox Games is going to be publishing in that. Now, City of Gears was originally slated to be a Dice Tower Essentials games, which are games I think are really amazing. However, I'm not the only person deciding whether something's going to be a Dice Tower Essentials game. Arcane Wonders decided it wouldn't be a good fit for them, and so it's now being published by Gray Fox Games, but it is an amazing game, and when it comes out, you all should definitely get it. Also, Emerson Matsuuchi is designer of some great games, most notably Century, which came out this year. They've announced Crossfire from him, from Plaid Hat Games, and this will be coming out at Gen Con. I played Crossfire years ago in prototype form, and it's really an entertaining game. It's a social deduction game where there's a team of people who are trying to assassinate the leader of another team of people, and you have to figure out who the assassin is. A lot of fun, and I'm sure it's gone through a lot of development since I played it. Another Ascension expansion is coming out at Gen Con also, Valley of the Ancients from Stoneblade Games. I believe this is the 11th expansion. A lot of stuff there. Game of Thrones Catan. The Brotherhood of the Watch. Now, this is a surprise of sorts. I mean, I guess not that big of a surprise because Asmodee has the Game of Thrones license and they have Catan license, and let's put peanut butter with chocolate together. At first, my initial impressions are cash in, you know, especially since I can see you have Game of Thrones game, then Catan doesn't make a lot of sense. But I went over the overview of it, and it looks like it's all about the wall, and you're building and trying to stop the wildling attacks coming to the wall and stuff. And it looks like they put a lot of thought into it, and it's not just some Catan with Game of Thrones slapped on it. Now, it still might be that, but I have better hopes for it, so we'll have to see as it gets closer to coming out. Plan B Games has acquired Eggertspiel. Now, Plan B Games was the offshoot when Z-Man Games was sold to Asmodee. Plan B Games was the leftover stuff to some degree from the same folks who own Z-Man Games. They had Pretzel Games, which had Flick 'em Up and things like that, those dexterity games, and they also got Century from Emerson. And so that was a pretty good start to the company, to this new company, although I still don't know why they're called Plan B, but whatever. Now they've acquired Eggertspiel, which means they bought them. Eggertspiel is known for games like Great Western Trail, Coal Baron, etc. Now, Great Western Trail has, before this, had publishing agreements, partnership mostly with Stronghold in America. This is not a bad thing like, oh, they're breaking off agreements with Stronghold. They're just bought by another company. So we'll see Plan B Games now distributing them instead because they own them. So this is interesting. Plan B Games is already starting to grow. We'll see where they go. And finally, Gen Con has sold out of their 4-day passes. This has never happened before. This is Gen Con 50 coming up. Lots of conventions sell out, but I don't believe Gen Con has ever sold out before. I think they capped it at 65,000, which means if you're going to Gen Con, be prepared for crowds. I know they've also sold out of single-day tickets on Sunday and maybe a few other days. So, all right, we're starting to gear up now. We're starting to make our Gen Con plans. If you're going to be at Gen Con, if you're one of this sold out crowd and you want to come on to our live show there's still a few tickets for that available. Sign up for that now before they're all gone. And we have some really, really cool announcements that we'll be making at that live show and some other neat tricks and thingamabobbers there. Also, finally in news, Dice Tower Cruise is still wide open. We are still looking for people to join us on that. If you're interested, dicetowercruise.com. Sign up today before those tickets are gone. We'd love to have you come on us on a boat. The Dice Tower crew will be there. We'll be playing games and just having a ton of fun. All right, that's the news. Let's move over to Kickstarter.
Happy breakfast, everybody. I'm actually speaking to you from the past because thanks to production schedules, I had to record this segment over a week ago because I spent last week at Dice Tower Con. So let's take a look at what was happening in our crowdfunding world that I didn't cover next week or last week. I don't know, time travel is very confusing. In Coin and Crown, you'll be building up your card-based empire through income and resource management. Mechanically simple, each player will draw coins and use that money to purchase cards that provide a wide variety of options. You'll need to gain territories, which can be done through military force or through diplomacy, i.e. money, and then upgrade those lands for victory points. But upgrading takes resources that you can also buy from the market. There are also different buildings that provide benefits like extra actions or alternative ways to score points. Essentially, this is a really neat little engine building game. Coin and Crown is designed by Steve Aramini and Janice Baker, and it features a minimalistic art style that you don't often see in games. You can get a copy of Coin and Crown for a pledge of $24 plus shipping. The story of Stonebound Saga revolves around an ancient floating city called Lux that has returned, and with it a darkness that you must combat using the power of speaking stones that grant their wearers the ability to push back that darkness. Stonebound Saga is a card battling game with a board element in which players can construct or draft decks of teams of characters from 7 different classes, like Marauders, Prophets, and Sentinels. Characters have offensive and defensive special abilities, and character stats are really dynamic, and so they're tracked on player boards. Stone cards provide resources that the players must manage as they control their team of cards on the board. Some preview players have kind of described this as a condensed miniatures game. Stonebound Saga's art looks gorgeous, and the cast of characters is really diverse. There are multiple strategic paths you can choose for victory, and there's even a game soundtrack. You can get a copy of Stonebound Saga for a pledge of $39 plus shipping. And last but not least, from the publishers of Florenza and Britannia comes Wendake, a game that takes place during the 7-Year War in America, but it focuses on the native people's daily lives and not sensationalized warfare. Wendake is about resource management with a bit of area control, and you have to work to move up 4 different scoring tracks that represent 4 different aspects of tribal life. The game features really clever action selection involving tile manipulation as you flip, slide, and upgrade tiles to get the actions and resources you need. You'll use these actions to move around the board, harvest resources, trade, conduct ceremonies, and build up your military might. And you need to work towards balanced growth between these 4 different areas of life because at the end of 7 rounds, or 7 years in game, your final score is equal to the lowest value along those tracks. Wendake is a deep and replayable game, and I really appreciate the apparent care and research the makers put into the game to represent Native American people and life in a respectful manner. You can get a copy of Wendake for a pledge of €49 plus shipping. Okay, that's all I've got for you this episode. Hopefully something caught your eye. And hey, if I got to meet you or play a game with you at Dice Tower Con, it was great to meet you, and I had a great time, so thank you. And until next time, when things are finally back to normal, I hope you have a wonderful week.
Hello, Chaz Marler from Pair of Dice Paradise, here to talk to you about board games. And you know what? After collecting so many of these things over the years, You'd think that I'd be content with playing the ones that I have, instead of contemplating playing the ones that I don't yet have. But, sure enough, recently I have been thinking of doing just that. Well, specifically, I have been thinking about proxying cards that I don't have when playing games such as Magic the Gathering and Star Wars Destiny. By proxying, I mean using generic stand-ins as replacements for the cards that I don't yet have available. I can see proxying cards making real sense in certain situations. For example, way back in the mid-90s, when a group of friends and I would play Magic 1 or 2 nights a week, one player, Eleanor, had a full set of the highly coveted Moxes. And even though she had copies of all of these cards in her possession, Eleanor's deck still used proxies, different cards that stood in place for the Moxes, in order to protect the valuable versions of those cards. And nobody complained, since the Moxes were still technically in her collection. Another scenario in which proxying makes sense to me occurred just several weeks ago when some friends and I took part in a really casual little Star Wars Destiny tournament together. Now, as of the time of this recording, booster packs for this blasted game have been notoriously difficult to come by in some areas. So some players started printing out images of cards that they were interested in, sleeving, and using them as proxies, allowing them to experiment with different deck ideas before investing their time and money in tracking down legitimate copies of those cards. It's a practice that worked really great for experimental deck building, but it inevitably caused my own inner cheapskate to raise the question. Well, if proxying cards is a viable way to obtain certain cards that are missing from your collection, why not just always proxy the cards that you want? Proxying doesn't even need to be limited to cards. Again, in Star Wars Destiny, even a generic 6-sided dice could stand in for the various character dice, preventing the need to track down a redundant copy of a specific card just to get the additional dice that's required in order to use the elite version of a character. Of course, in an official sanctioned tournament, proxying wouldn't be allowable, and that makes sense. But what about when playing casually? Is printing out cards from images downloaded from the internet and using them as proxies okay to do? Or is that misusing the designer's intellectual property? Or is it just outright stealing from the publisher? Let me know your thoughts on this subject. Do you proxy cards and components? And if so, how far is too far when it comes to proxying?
All right, for Dice Tower Productions this week, I already mentioned we took the beginning of the week off because while Dice Tower Con is a lot of fun and a vacation for many people, it is a lot of work for us, and we work throughout the entire week, including on Sunday, getting a lot of things done. But that being said, we'll be back. We'll have some videos going up this week. I have some reviews planned to go up. Not sure which ones yet, but we'll be working to get some reviews up. We also will have a... the best of the month is going to go up this week. We have one of our weekly shows will be going up. Our Kickstarter show will be going up this week. And like I said, we still have some Origins things going up. So you're going to see various different events and things from us go up this week, mostly on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And we got other reviews from our extended reviewing staff. So there's just a lot of stuff that you will see, just not a lot today and tomorrow or yesterday. Now, that being said, of course, there's a lot of other things that you can listen to. Just today, we posted the Dice Tower Award Show, which you can also watch live on our channel last week. If you missed it, we did a lot of different live shows at the convention that you can watch, most notably the Dice Tower Awards for 2016, and, which I guess that should have been a news item, but it is news, and our top 10 bad games from great designers. So that was a little fun list for us to do, and we had Eric Summer join us for that list. But anyhow, that's all coming up. So with the Dice Tower Award Show, and then of course in the Dice Tower Network, lots of great podcasts. They come out all the time, so you can find all that at dicetowernetwork.com.
Hello everyone, my name is Annette, and you may know me as Netters Plays. And today on Applied Mechanics, I'm going to go over the game of Citrus. Citrus has a really interesting market system along with tile lane and worker management. So let me show you a little bit about those mechanisms, how it's applied, and why I really like the game. So here's the whole setup for Citrus. You have the main game board, you also have the marketplace, and every player will have their own player map with their workers. Players only have 2 actions in the game. One action is to build, or they can go ahead and harvest. If a player wants to build, they can build using these tiles, and they have to spend money according to how many tiles they're picking up from the marketplace. If you pick up tiles from the marketplace, you have to take all of the tiles in that row. So once you pick up your tiles, then you get to lay them around these different fincas. Of course there's placement rules, but after you lay them, then you place a worker in each different colored field. On the board, you want to use these different farmers in order to maintain control around the fincas, which will score you points. Instead of building, you can also harvest by pulling one of your workers from the fields. They will give you a certain amount of points, and after you harvest, the workers will also give you money. One thing I really like about Citrus is the management of workers. Of course, there's a marketplace and the tile laying. However, what drives the game is the worker management. You have to manage those workers because you need money, you need control on the board, and also you need points. So you have to figure out when to best use your workers for money or when to best use your workers to gain control on the board. And all that figuring it out with only 5 workers in the game is really hard and is really interesting. So that's why I really enjoy Citrus. Well, thanks again, and I'll see you next time. Bye!
One of the best things to do in our yard is to go watch the birds. There are plenty of different birds here in our yard. But when there's a bird game, better yet. That's why on Time to Learn, we are going to play Go Cuckoo.
Go Cuckoo is a game designed by José Maria Louis and Victor Battisti Roca and is published by Haba. On this game, you're basically pulling twigs from a can and trying to build your nest, and be able to pull your eggs on it without letting fall beyond the rim of the can, and making it difficult for the other players at the same time. If one of your eggs fall into the can, you get to pick an egg from the other player. If one of the sticks fall off of the can, you get to put it back, but you don't get to lay an egg. The sticks will have collars on both ends. Once you pull a twig with the same collar on both ends, you get to lay one of your eggs. Now if you pull a twig with 2 different colors, you get to pull another stick with the color that is the opposite color from the twig you just pulled. You get 3 chances. In case you don't get a twig with the same color on both sides, you have to pass and it's the next player's turn. Alright, what did you think about Go Cuckoo?
I think it's a really fun game because, like, you have to make, like, really hard decisions. Like, if you either want to make it harder for your opponents or if you want to make yourself doing better by making you put more eggs on than the other person.
Yeah, it does help a little bit. It's good to teach coordination, and as you said, yeah, it's a fine line. Do I want to make it easy for me to put my egg, or difficult for the next person to put the egg? So, a really good game. I enjoyed it a lot.
So did I.
Thumbs up?
Thumbs up.
All right.
See you around the table.
Bye.
Folks, what I'm showing you today is just a paint job here, but I'm so thrilled about this, and it was such a nice thing that one of our viewers did for us. My Arcadia Quest stuff accidentally got sent to somebody who did not send it back, and it was all painted and everything. It wasn't the end of the world, but I must have mentioned it somewhere. And so one of our listeners heard about it and decided to paint the monsters, which was what I was missing. And man, folks, this stuff is absolutely superb. I just wanted to kind of brag about them a little bit and this is kind of my thank you to them. I mean, just the way this stuff looks, this is like not just slop and go or tabletop ready. This is really good quality painting, and I can't wait to put these guys on the board and then kill them all because they're bad guys. And look how evil they look. Look at the bones coming out of this thing. So anyway, this is my thank you. I'm very excited to add this to my Arcadia Quest game, and that's pretty cool.
2 brothers set loose in a thrift store. This is Thrift Store Throwbacks.
And just remember, if from Mr. R's office you hear crying, Don't come a spying. Okay. Actually, come visit anytime. All right, bye. So here, you want to talk about some careers? Man, I just need some guidance. Well, you came to the right place. I don't know what I want to do with my life, you know? I actually have some great suggestions for you. How about you work in, like, a junkyard? I don't want to work in a junkyard. I want to do something more prestigious. How did you end up in this job, Mr. R? Sometimes you have to settle. Is that what you did? You settle? Yeah, but it's a great job. Oh, yeah, you know. Not really. I can't be the only one who's told you this. I can't be the only one who's told you.
What do you want to do?
Broadway. Top choice. 2 words for you, Doc. Cardiothoracic surgeon. I just want to be famous. Sounds cool. Fitness mogul. I just want to sell cats. Yeah, you know, I probably should have tried that. This is all you ever wanted to do? This is all you wanted to do? This is all you wanted to do? This is all you ever 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 wanted to do? I live in my dreams. This is all you ever wanted to do? This is all you ever wanted to do? You okay, Mr. R? I was supposed to be an astronaut! I was going to be in space. Cool. So this is Careers, and for a full gameplay talk through, check out our channel on the Brothers Smurf. This is a roll and move game in which you're going to be going through different career paths trying to accumulate a combination of fame, money, and happiness, which is your success formula. So you can go into a thing like big business, which is going to make you a lot of money, sports will get you a lot of happiness, and space will make you very famous. And the first person to achieve their success formula wins. So that was Careers. Explain. This game was actually fun. It
Not
can
too bad.
happen.
I know. It was actually not
Fourth
bad
or
at
so.
all, honestly. Like, I mean, for like, you know, a Monopoly-ish kind of roll and move game.
So there's obviously a bunch of luck because you're just rolling dice and you kind of land where you land. You can do things that help mitigate your success, like choosing different career paths that are going to mesh with whatever your goals are.
The success formula is really, really cool. You could go 0 happiness, 0 fame, just $60,000.
Give me that cash. Yeah, man, for our track record, this ranks pretty high.
So please check us out on all forms of social media. Talk to us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We love chatting with people. And until next time, we'll see you at the thrift store.
I'll see you there.
If I were to say, roll 3d8 plus 4, what kind of numbers would I get? Hi, I'm Chris Renshaw from the Boards and Swords podcast, and welcome to Role Playing. This week, before we go any further talking about games and RPGs and all sorts of things, I wanted to establish a firm baseline in understanding a few terms, and that is when it comes to dice. All right, so let's take a look at all the different dice types. So first you got your 4-sided dice, or your D4, and then of course you've got your standard 6-sided die that you've seen. Then you've got your 8-sided dice, or D8s. Over here you've got your 10-sided dice. Now these come in 2 types. You've got your normal ones. They go 0 to 9, and then you usually come with a second one that has 10s places. And the way this works is you can either roll a d10, and look, I rolled a 4 here, or someone may say roll percentage die, and now I roll these, and now I've got a 10 and a 7, so I got a 17. Now over here you've got your 12-sided dice, and then last but certainly not least, you have the infamous 20-sided dice. When you see somebody that says roll 3d6, that means you need to take 3 6-sided dice and roll them, add them together. Now if you see a plus at the end, or it could be a minus, 2d10 minus 4, then you need to take 2 10-sided dice, roll them, add them together, get the number, and then subtract 4. So now let's go back to the beginning of the segment where I specified a specific number of dice and modifiers, and I want you guys to roll that. Post a number down in the comments below. If you're within the range for the numbers I said, then I will randomly choose a person and they will get a free D&D Player's Handbook for 5th edition. See you next time, and remember, may all your hits be crits.
Hey, I'm Rob Horn. Welcome to Miniature World. I'm with Sam Healy.
I just ran out of air.
You ran out of air?
Yeah, I did.
What are you doing here? Aren't you 2 segments in front of me?
No, probably.
Oh, no, you pushed me to the back. Am I in the back?
No, you're usually at the front.
Anyways, we're at the 2017 Dice Tower Con at our painting class, and we're going to take a look at some really cool miniatures that everybody's painting for the first time. What do you think, Sam?
That's cool. Getting people to paint is awesome.
There you go. Well, let's head to it. What do you think?
Let's get to it.
Okay.
Rock it.
Everybody just enjoying themselves, having a great time doing this, learning for the first time. We've got Vernon, Piper, and Sam. And we've had a fantastic week watching everybody go at it and just learning, enjoying themselves, and having a new experience at painting. And it's been some of the best times that we've had in a long time. We did Black Plague during the week, and you can see just everybody working in their own ways, coloring the world the way they see it, and just learning a new experience and doing something that I've never done, and venturing out and trying painting for the first time. I hope that you guys do that as well. So let's just send it up on head out of here and call it a day. Well, he's closing it up. We're all set. We're all done. Thanks for watching Miniature World. Until next time, I'm Rob Warren. We'll see you soon.
What a week it has been at Dice Tower Con. And obviously, I like the con a lot if you see the title of this board game breakfast, which is Best Con Ever. But I really believe that this was my favorite convention that I've ever been to. And I said that pretty much on day one. That's how much fun I had. Now, we showed up early. Me and my family went, and we went last Sunday and showed up early so that we could do stuff as a family on Monday, you know, hang out and do things together before I started prepping for stuff on Tuesday, and then just really being involved in doing a lot of different things once the convention started Wednesday through Sunday. Now, I am in no means saying that our convention was perfect. There were mistakes. There were things. In fact, on Saturday night, I think around 2 o'clock a.m., I guess that's Sunday morning, the AC went out in the building because there was a problem with a power company, actually, and it didn't come back on till, I think, 7:30 a.m. in the morning. Although that's probably the best time for it to go out, still it makes the building hot, and I think it cleared out. When I got there in the morning, there wasn't very many people there, and I was sitting there going, should I stay and play games? Because it's kind of hot. But then the air came on, I was like, okay, great. But that was really kind of out of our control. But the Dice Tower Con staff, which is Heatherman and Patrick Havert, run it and everything, and I thought they did a fantastic job. Some of the things that I was amazed about, first of all, last year we had 1,500 people. This year we had 3,000. And I said, well, we're going to have logistical jumps with that. We're going to have problems with the library not having enough games. We're going to have problems with the place feeling maybe too crowded. We're going to have problems with registration line. Well, I don't know a lot about the library, but it seemed like there was always games that you could check out from the library. It definitely did not feel more crowded because we more than doubled the space, so there was plenty of places for people to play. And that's with us taking a huge room for our shows and everything. There was definitely, the registration was one of the fastest I've ever seen at a con. Not only there was free breakfast food for everybody waiting in line, which I guess everyone liked. There was just like a buffet of pastries and breakfast sandwiches and drinks, so people were having a good time there. Once the line opened, it was an extremely long line, and it was through in like an hour. And then after that, people came, boom, were registered. And so I thought that was good. The friendliness at the convention, of course, is overwhelming. And I met so many people who talked to me, and I've met people who said that they had met other folks and had a good time. And we had many different publishers there. Lots of people bought lots of games. I saw the hauls coming from the game, and some of them I'm like, you bought more games there than I see people buy at Gen Con. But I think instead it wasn't so much a buying convention, although people did buy a lot of games, but it was a playing games convention. And to sit down and just play games, and every time I walked through, I just saw people all over the place playing games and all sorts of games, and everybody seeming to have a good time. I don't think it's possible to have an event where people get their feelings hurt, or without people getting their feelings hurt, or someone getting mad at a game. I wish it was possible, but I'm sure that happened there and here. But for the most part, everyone just was having a blast, and it felt like being in a building with my family and just having a fantastic time. 3,000 was a big jump, but it never felt like it was that crowded, and it never felt overwhelming. The hotel there is fantastic. And you're saying, wait a minute, Vassal, this is starting to sound like a commercial. I guess registration does go live in November for next year, but I'm not so concerned about trying to get more people to come. I'm concerned about, was it a good time? I always want the things that I'm part of to be a good time, and I can't really take a lot of credit for it. We just put on shows, and I go around and talk to people, but the staff at Dice Tower Con has done an amazing job. There's a ton of volunteers, and they did an incredible job. And I've been at conventions before where the staff was fine, or they treated exhibitors kind of like, well, whatever, pay us the money and you can do stuff. I felt like here they really treated people really nicely, and I'm really proud of that. I really am excited about that. I can't wait for next year. And we're going to be gearing up this week to be going to Gen Con. Gen Con's a month away, and there's a lot of stuff that has to be done before we get to Gen Con, and a lot of, just things to put together. But for the most part, I'm already looking forward to Dice Tower Con, or Dice Tower Cruise, I guess, because that's the same thing, but a smaller setting on a boat. But I'm looking forward to those, I think, more than anything else over the course of the year. And I'm a little sad that it's over. Not entirely sad, because it was very tiring and a lot of things to do. But I got to play my first mega game with Eric Summers, E. Garcia, and a lot of other people joined us for that. I want to say there was like 8 teams times 6, like 48 people playing in that. That was a new experience for me. I got to play a lot of games. Although, do you know, I didn't play Cosmic Encounter once during the whole convention. Just never happened. I played a lot of other games. I played some games I really enjoy. I played some new games. I played some bad games. But either way, I had fun playing games, but mostly fun talking to you. If you came to Dice Tower Con, a huge thank you from me. If you came and volunteered at Dice Tower Con, an even bigger thanks. And for all Dice Tower contributors, and we had more people there than we ever had at any convention, like part of the Dice Tower Network and Board Game Breakfast contributors and all sorts of things. It was so exciting. All right, well, hopefully I'll see you there sometime in the future. But either way, it's enough time gushing about that convention. Let's get back to the show.
Hi, Mike Delisio from Solomode Games. Many solo gamers, myself included, prefer to have a solo experience where, as much as possible, you are recreating the multiplayer game experience, and one way to do that is through having a virtual opponent. One of the more popular and well-renowned recent implementations of a virtual opponent is something known as the Automa system by Morten Monrad Peterson. And in this Automa system, you have a virtual opponent that is going to take actions to impact your play in a particular game. Now, for example, a game like Viticulture, which is a worker placement game, you've got this deck, the Automa deck, where during particular periods of the game, depending on which modules you're playing with, you're going to draw an Automa card, and it is going to have you place virtual opponents in particular places on the board and potentially block spots. You might think, how is that different than rolling a D10 or a D12? I don't know what it is, but there's something about this deck. It knows where you want to go. It works. Now, for something simple like worker placement, that's a pretty viable thing. But what about a big sprawling game with resource management and combat and things along those lines? Well, maybe a game like Scythe, also using the Automa system. This is a bit of a stepped up Automa system, very elegant though. Actually, I've got it upside down. Here's the two-sided cards, and it works that way, where in the first part of the game you're playing with the green side and you've got movement and resource management and potential bonuses, and then in the second part of the game you've got those same, but they're ramped up, and you also have areas for potential combat. So this system, the Automa system, which is in a number of games, is an incredibly elegant system, and it really evokes the feeling of playing against an opponent. Have any of you tried the Automa games? Have you tried any other AI opponents that you particularly like? If you have, let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much, and have a great day.
In this episode of Daily Personalized Game Recommend... You know what? No, we're just going to stick with what should I get. Gary, just roll the intro. Gary, just roll the intro. Hi, this is Gary Pope from Late to the Table, and this is What I Get, where we basically go on the board game subreddit and we look at the daily personalized game recommendation mega thread that's posted on a daily basis, and we recommend games for people to get. So let's go ahead and start. 42 Turtles. For a second, I thought that said 40 War Turtles. On the water swap. Actually, now that it isn't 40 War Turtles, why 42 Turtles? Why 42? Anyways, 42 Turtles is basically looking for a game for their friends. Their game group has grown up to 7 players now. And they're basically looking for an engine builder sort of game because it seems like Splinter is one of their favorite games, except they don't want to split up into different groups. Actually, they absolutely refuse to split up. So, they actually kind of are a squad, I guess, then. So, what do we got for them? So one of the games I definitely would suggest would be 7 Wonders. Now, while I personally loathe this game, I think I'm in the minority of people that don't like the game. It's a pretty solid drafting game in which it has good engine building mechanics. For 7 players, you're definitely not going to find many better ones. Let me repeat, it's my personal opinion. Don't let me persuade you. I repeat, don't let me persuade you. Now, if I could persuade you to try out a different game besides 7 Wonders, I definitely would check out Between Two Cities. It's a game that's similar, except it adds just a little bit more to the game. You are basically doing the same kind of drafting mechanics, but you're stuck in between 2 other players. So basically everything you're building is basically working off of what they're building, and basically your lowest scoring city between the 2 players is your actual end score. Just that one single mechanic alone definitely makes it stand out more, in my opinion, to 7 Wonders. But if I could persuade you to check out a different game that I like even better than those 2, I definitely would check out Steampunk Rally. Now, what I like about Steampunk Rally is that it has a similar drafting mechanic to 7 Wonders in Between Two Cities, but in this one you're actually in a race, and what you're drafting are parts to your vehicle that you're going to be making to actually get across the finish line. What's really cool about this one is that there's a lot of dice rolling in the game, and I'm not a big fan of dice rolling, but I love how it works in this game. And that's because no matter what you roll, it basically doesn't matter. Not that it doesn't matter, but it's not as critical. It's not like you're rolling a dice and you're like, I have to hit a 6 or I'm going to get screwed. It's like, no, I got a 1. That's still not so bad. Plus, the game also plays up to 8 players. My only issue that the game kind of overstays its welcome. If this game was compact to a 30 to an hour max long game, it would be perfect, but I don't think I've ever gotten that game off the table in under an hour and a half to 2 hours minimum. And that was another episode of What Should I Get? Be sure to post your questions on the Board Game subreddit underneath the daily recommendation personalized game whatever thread that's posted on a daily basis at this point. And this is Gary Pope from Late to the Table, and I hope you're enjoying your breakfast.
Hi everyone. Every year in December, a popular radio station in the Netherlands organizes Serious Request. It is a huge fundraiser for the International Red Cross. DJs are locked up in a glass temporary radio studio in a city center, from where they broadcast continuously and ask people to donate and request a song. This year, on the 3rd day, a small boy presented himself. His name was Stijn, and he has an incurable form of brainstem cancer. And he wanted to help out, collect money to donate to this year's cause, people in Africa, children in Africa who have pneumonia, a sickness where there is a cure for. His idea was to paint nails for people and ask €1 to do so. The DJs love it so much that they ask him to come with them inside, and they even drill a hole in the wall for people to stick their hand through and have their nails done by Tijn. Something sparks. Everyone is impressed by this kid who is putting so much time and energy into raising money for kids in Africa. After one day, the nail polish action already made €500,000, and 24 hours later there was over €2 million raised by Tijn. This week, Tijn's nail polish made the news again. Tijn is selling his favorite colored nail polish in the hope to raise enough money to get a convection-enhanced delivery machine to the Netherlands. That is a robot that can help other people who have brainstem cancer before it gets to that fatal stage. Yesterday, that goal was met, but for Tijn, it is already too late. He passed away this morning at 7 o'clock. A boy who so selflessly spent so much of his little time and energy into raising money for other people to save lives. Tijn, you are an example for all of us. This week I am playing Fresco, a game where you use colors to make a beautiful fresco. Not for victory points, but for Tijn. Thanks for watching.
before the world even exists, before we all had meeples and board games, we had a Meeple War. Join me for my best and the worst for Meeple War. My name is Nils Cyril's Brettspiele. My favorite part of Meeple War is by far the background story. That is phenomenal, outstanding, never seen this before. Before even Carcassonne meeples really exist, there was a war between different meeples, and these meeples fought to become the superior meeple in the board game world. So that is a cool idea, right? And you have 4 different shapes of meeples, and they are trying to fight to get an area control thing going on. What I don't like on it is you're running, sometimes I had that a couple of times during my games, that you're running into a kingmaker situation. So you have, for an example, an army here, and blue has armies here, and now blue can either decide to attack and get 1 more victory point, or trying to negotiate with orange. If orange is going here, everything is fine for blue, and blue might win. If orange is going here, probably this character, which could be green, can win. And you have this king-making idea of who is getting. I mean, orange needs to have some fighting points, so they have to get out, but they don't know the direction. Thanks for being part of this war here. See you next week here on the Board Game Breakfast. Enjoy the rest of the show, guys.
Okay, so here's another shelf full of games. Here I have Colosseum, which I think is a fantastic game from the Days of Wonder version. I know that I'm not putting down the new Tasty Minstrel Games version at all, but I'm glad I own the original. I think they're both fine looking versions. I think this one's slightly better, but I love this game. Timeline Challenge, which not just has Timeline Challenge in, but has all my timeline stuff in it. I mean, there's a ton of timeline cards in here. I think this takes timeline and makes it more of a game. Libertalia, a great pirate game of playing cards at the right moment. Asking for Troubles. Now, this is a kids-style worker placement game, although not just for kids. It can be for adults. It's very orangey. I mean, I'm not kidding. There's a lot of orange in the game. And I believe it was just Kickstarted, a 2nd edition. But I really like this one. It's light, it's simple, about getting the resources to catch these aliens or kick these aliens off your planet. For the Crown, 2nd edition, this here is a mix between a deck building game and chess, which sounds awful, but it's not. It is a ton of fun and very, 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 very thinky. Here I have one of my dice towers, which is actually backwards here. This is one I had made for me a long time ago. The company that made this one no longer makes dice towers, but I was glad to get one when I did. And then Onitama, this here, of course, is one of the Dice Tower Essentials, and kind of doesn't fit with a lot of things in the shelf, but looks pretty good here. Great 2-player game, and it looks like a lot of people are agreeing with me. That's what's on the shelf this week.
Hey everyone, it's lunchtime! Today we're going to be looking at The Lost Expedition. It's published by Osprey Games, designed by Pierre Sylvester. It plays 1 to 5 players, ages 14 and up, in about 30 to 50 minutes.
So this game is awesome. So it's very much like The Grizzled. However, this game can be played cooperatively. You can also play head-to-head, and even better, you can play solo. So in the game, you have 3 explorers that you work with, and you're trying to get to the city of Z before you're killed off by potential, I don't know, what would you call them, assailants? Problems, dangers,
hazards.
Hazards, yes, that can attack you on the cards. The cards have different colored squares. They have red, they have yellow, they have blue. And you have to do them in order. So yellow being the ones that are mandatory, red, you get to choose one that you'd like to do, and blue is optional. Some of them are great, giving you food, giving you health. Others are not so good, taking away food, taking away health, potential death. So basically what you want to try and do is move your little meeple all the way to the end to get to the city of Z. Once that happens, the game is over and you win. If you don't meet that condition, the deck runs out, or, well, all 3 of your explorers die, well, game over.
Bad stuff happens.
Yeah. And as a person who doesn't like co-op, I avoid co-op almost at all costs. This one, I like it. Like I said, like The Grizzled, yes. Love it. The art, We mentioned that it looks a little bit like Tintin. I know maybe not all of you know Tintin. I think Tintin might only be a Canadian thing.
Potentially.
European and Canadian mostly, but
Yeah.
some Americans do know Tintin.
And that's the thing in this game, like all of the characters have some historical presence, so I hope to research them a little bit more to find out, but I thought that was kind of a nice touch to the game.
And they also have representation of both men and women, and people of color as well. So
yeah, which is always a good thing.
Yeah.
So I really enjoy this, and hey, it got me to play it solo. I never play anything solo.
Yeah.
So it's a thumbs up from me. Good lunchtime, Mike.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Get the brain going. So that's it for now. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.
The world of games is no stranger to licensed games based on movies, TV shows, even video games. Lots of great games take their inspiration from various forms of art. But did you know that there are plenty of games based on books? And occasionally, books based on games. There's no shortage of science fiction and fantasy fans amongst the gamer community, so it's no surprise that three of the greatest fantasy epics of all time, Tolkien's Lord of the Rings, Martin's Song of Ice and Fire, and Rowling's Harry Potter the Boy Who Showed Up series have all inspired numerous games, some better than others. But this is just the tip of the fantasy iceberg. There's Umberto Eco's In the Name of the Rose, Ken Follett's Pillars of the Earth, Frank Herbert's Dune, and Robert E. Howard's barbaric hero Conan has spawned a number of games all by himself. And the world of classical literature has inspired no small number of games either. Shakespeare, the man, and his works have inspired games such as Shakespeare, Shakespeare the Bard Game, Council of Verona, and of course, Othello. The horror genre is of particular inspiration to game designers. Horror icons Dracula and Frankenstein's monster have both inspired numerous games. Max Brooks's novel World War Z inspired a movie of the same name, which in turn inspired a game of the same name. And of course, everyone knows that you can't swing a dead cultist around without hitting half a dozen games based on H.P. Lovecraft's most famous creation, Cthulhu. With games such as Beyond Baker Street, Holmes, Sherlock and Mycroft, Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective, Lady Alice, A Study in Emerald, and countless more, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle is no stranger to having his books turned into board games. Sir Terry Pratchett is also no stranger, with games such as Clacks, Witches, Thud, Guards, and of course Martin Wallace's Ankh-Morpork. Some unexpected works have also inspired games. If you'd asked me if I ever thought the works of Jane Austen would be turned into board games, I'd say you were crazy. And yet, here we are, living in a world where Marrying Mr. Darcy and Pride and Prejudice, the game, both exist. Even some kids' games take their inspiration from children's literature. There's a Dr. Seuss trivia game, and for the serious child gamer, Yellow's Tales and Games series takes its inspiration from Aesop's fables and European folklore. So what is it about books that make them so ripe for translation into board games? I think it's that the worlds and characters that writers create are so fascinating for us to inhabit that we want to put on their shoes and go for a walk in them. Human beings are naturally drawn to story. We've been telling stories to each other for millennia, and games are just another way for us to explore and experience those narratives. So what do you think, bookworms? Did I miss your favorite literary-inspired game? If so, tell us about it in the comments below, or tell us what book or book series that you would love to see turned into a game.
Hello, my name's Dan, and this is Cora, and we're here today to talk to you about board games for children.
Around 5 and under.
Around 5 and under. And today we're going to talk about this game. What is it, Cora?
Duck Duck Bruce.
Duck Duck Bruce. Duck Duck Bruce is a push-your-luck card game where the players take it in turns to draw cards with various numbers of ducks on them and lay them in a line on the table. The players can stop at any point and collect all the ducks they put out. However, if 2 cards of the same suit come out, then you lose them and the cards that were sandwiched between them, and your turn ends. In addition, there's a risk of drawing Bruce, a rather boisterous dog who's going to chase all the ducks away. Although, he does give you the opportunity to steal some cards from other players, this time by using another push-your-luck mechanism, where you say how many cards you want to steal and then try and roll over that number with a dice. The endgame scoring for Duck Duck Bruce is a little bit counterintuitive for very little kids. You only score your highest card of each suit. And so when Cora was younger, we used to just play to the most ducks collected wins. However, now she's developed a bit, we've moved on to the full rules, which makes the push your luck decisions a little bit more sophisticated and interesting. So Cora, what do you think about Duck Duck Bruce?
I think it's good.
Why do you like it?
Because it's kind of like Duck Duck Goose, which is a sitting down game, but that's board game of it.
Yeah, that's right.
Kind of.
I like it. It's a nice little push your luck game and a lot of fun. It's been in our collection for ages actually, and I used to play it with Amy when she was about your age. Well, actually a bit older than that, but never mind.
I'm 5.
She's 5. Amy,
A quarter. I'm 5 and a quarter.
Don't forget that quarter. So we give Duck Duck Bruce 2 duck thumbs up. Quack, 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 quack.
And that's it for another board game breakfast. Once again, my apologies about this coming up late, but hopefully by next week we'll be back on track. All right, I will see you guys next time. Until then, I'm Tom Vassell. This has been Board Game Breakfast.
Thanks for watching Board Game Breakfast. Tune in each week for your daily dose of gaming goodness with Tom Vassell and all the gang. Until next time, I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching Board Game Breakfast, a Dice Tower production, sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., an amazing place to buy board games. Cool stuff in stock at CoolStuffInc.com.